You mentioned the last time we talked to you that you'd love to have 6 guys that you could rotate through. Do you feel better about that now that you've had a chance to see them? And it's realistic you could have even more based on the talent?
Yeah, it's been exciting. There's a lot of competition throughout the entire room. Like I said, we want to have 6 guys that we feel really good about, and there's really good competition for those 6 spots right now. So I think we're in a good spot. We've come a long ways. I think we still got a ways to go, but I'm very excited about kind of finishing up spring ball here and then moving into the next phase.
Not too long after you got here and Phil got here, you guys were able to add some guys through the transfer portal. Obviously, 2 kids you were familiar with at Cincinnati. CJ from USC and Bryson Green. I know Bryson hasn't been able to do much because of the surgery, but how has that quartet helped add to the depth and the competition, and what have they provided so far? And what do you think they can provide in the fall?
Yeah, I think they've all done a really good job. Obviously, Bryson's been very limited throughout the spring, but he's done a good job just within the room with the guys. It's created a lot more competition, I think, at all the positions. Guys are pushing one another. But the thing that excites me the most is the reception of those guys by the guys that have already been here. Those guys have been great. Those guys have embraced them, and those guys are just living up to the competition, and I think it's making everybody better.
Is that a concern for a coach when you have returning guys and you bring in a large number of transfers? In your mind, you think, okay, we still need to see how they are embraced by the returning guys.
Absolutely, yes. It's definitely an area of concern, particularly when you don't know the room, right? I hadn't been here. I didn't know many of the guys in the room, so you don't know what you're walking into. You don't know, what the temperament of the room was in previous years. So there's definitely a level of concern, but the guys have been great, ever since we gotten here, and then I think they're all gelling well.
With looking at Pauling specifically, we've seen him get a lot of first-team reps the past few weeks. Just what's helped him, and how has he adapted so well to make the plays to warrant those reps?
He's just done a good job. He's studying the game. He studies the game. He works really hard at it. We're rotating a bunch of guys in there with the ones to try to give everybody some opportunities with the different quarterbacks and things like that. So I think he's done a good job in his transition. He's been able to catch on pretty fast. Obviously, with being with me for the last couple of years, the drills and things like that are the same that we've been doing. So that stuff is kind of second nature to him. Whereas, a lot of the other guys in the room are hearing me for the first time. So I think that helps from a technique standpoint, and then just from learning it. Everybody kind of, was learning it from ground zero together, including myself. So they've done a really good job.
Luke said the other day that you've obviously got a good culture in your room and kind of breeding that competitiveness. Is there anything, any techniques or anything you do to try to make sure that that's kind of the theme of the room, or how the guys approach going out to practice each day?
Yeah, it starts with Coach Fick, and in the team room, in the team meetings, every single day he's talking about effort and attitude. And then all we do as coaches, as his assistant coaches, is we just go and we continue to echo that. And, the biggest thing is showing the guys exactly what it looks like when it shows up on tape, preaching that, and making sure they understand that we can teach them all the techniques in the world, but if there isn't that effort and that attitude, then none of that other stuff matters.
What stands out about what CJ Williams has been able to do here the last few weeks?
He's made plays. He's made plays down the field. He's made plays in contested catch situations, which has been really good to see. He doesn't shy away from contact, which is good to see, especially from a young player. So he's done a lot of things good. He's working hard. He's a smart kid. So really excited about where he's headed.
He seems a little feisty. Do you like that about him, though? Just a little.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. I love guys that are feisty. I love guys that want to go and they want to get after. They want to be physical, but guys that can, kind of get to that edge, but still control themselves, control their emotions. Right? We talk about playing with emotion, but not being emotional. Right? There's a difference in between the two. And if you're a pest, that's a good thing. If the DBs don't like you, that's probably a good thing. Obviously, we got to be smart with our teammates and things like that. But they've done a good job at that.
Mike, a couple of weeks ago, Luke talked about how well you guys expected that jump last year before the injury. Have you guys seen somewhat similar, or even maybe higher than what you expected?
You said with Will?
Yeah, with Will.
Yeah, he's done a really good job. Last year, he was trending in a very good direction. He had an injury that set him back. I think he's kind of getting back to where he was before that injury from a confidence standpoint, and just playing confidently, playing fast. So really excited about where he's headed.
You mentioned Green obviously being limited. I don't know how much you looked at his tape from Oklahoma State, but how would you describe him as a receiver, what he can bring to the offense once he can get out there.
Yeah, just watching his tape, man. He's done a great job of tracking the ball downfield. He plays really, really physical. He's a really, really strong young man. Like I can tell by some of the little things we do, and it's just a different level of strength, and he's very, very aggressive on film. So I'm excited to get him out here and get him to work.
What kind of potential do you see in Chim DK, and how have you seen him adapt to the new offense?
Chim's been great. He's been awesome, man. He's a true veteran. You know what I mean? He's a leader in the room. Does everything you ask of him. He's Mr. Consistent, and he's constantly getting better. He's constantly taking notes, wanting to get better, and he's everything that you love to as in a type of player what you want to coach.
With Bryson, do you foresee him receiving more reps, or do you see him progressing to the point of receiving team reps this spring? And if not, where do you foresee him possibly within that receiving room, and at what positions?
It's hard to say. Obviously that's up to the doctors. That's out of my realm. Whenever he is ready to get back out there, we'll see what he can do and where he stacks up against the rest of the guys. But, he'll have to earn it, man. He'll have to earn it just like everybody else in the room. And when he comes back, when he gets back, he'll have an opportunity just like everybody else to go and earn that spot. I tell those guys all the time, they make the depth chart, not me. And so once he gets back, man, I'll be excited to see where he stacks up amongst the rest of them.
Mike, if I remember correctly, I believe you guys had Quincy, Will, and CJ for the same weekend of visits.
Yes.
I guess I'm just curious what you remember from that visit, just trying to bring him on board and sell him in Wisconsin.
Yeah, so it was really my first time meeting CJ, and then obviously I had some familiarity with the other two guys from Cincinnati, with Will and Quincy. It was a fun weekend, getting all those guys around each other. Again, just like we said a minute ago, you're always a little bit nervous, right? You got three guys there, and they're all playing the same position, just saying as wide receivers, and how will they feel about, oh, I'm not the only guy, and things like that. But those guys were great. I'm glad we did it that way. I'm glad those guys came in there together so they all understood. And then it was good to get the parents around, the parents that were familiar with our staff, familiar with me, to get them to, they can give them the real.
Mike, we saw Vinny with the second offense yesterday. Just what's he been able to do to kind of make a move up the pecking order here the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, Vinny's done some really good things, right? He's been catching the ball pretty consistently. Obviously, he has a dimension of speed that showed up there on Saturday in the scrimmage, and I think he's done a lot of really good things to earn him some more reps. And so we're just trying to get evaluations of him, giving him some opportunities with sometimes with the first group, sometimes with the second group, and continuing to see what he can handle and how far we can go.
You talked about how the wide receiver group has embraced each other, but just from a team standpoint, from the time you've been around here, how has this group embraced the changes that Luke has wanted to make?
Yeah, I spend, I guess, most of my time with the receivers and DBs, just because we're always going against each other. And I think their reception has been great, even sometimes around the linebackers and special teams drills and things like that. So I think the reception overall has been really, really good. These guys are hungry. These guys want to be really, really good. Anything you ask them to do, they're going to give their best effort, and they're not going to complain about it. We're pushing them. We're pushing them pretty good here in spring ball. Hasn't been any complaining. So I think the guys that have been here have done a great job of just embracing us as a coaching staff, and then obviously embracing the new players as well.
You're obviously really familiar with Will and Quincy. What's your relationship with them like, and what's it been like coaching the team for Texas?
Yeah, it's been good. You build relationships with guys through the recruiting process. You get to know them, you get to know their families, and then obviously having them in the room, Quincy for a year and then Will for 2 years, you kind of grow with them. So our relationship has been good, man. It's been really, really fun coaching those young men and being around them. They're good football players, but they're even better young men. They work hard academically. They do everything that you ask them to do. They're leaders in the community. So, those are the types of guys that you want to keep around you, that you want to surround yourself with and continue to grow a program with.
Mike, were you at all surprised by the incumbents in the room, the top three guys from last year, not been here before, and also seeing what they provided so far in the field?
Yeah, I kind of reserved my judgment on them, because there's so many things that are so different, right? Like, they're going to learn different techniques, and not to say mine are the perfect or mine are all right, but they're going to learn a different language, a different technique from me. And so for me to be able to judge them based off of what they're being coached from, and what we're doing offensively, I reserved all that. But it's been a lot better than I think a lot of people would give them credit for. The guys that have been here, I think they are all solid. It's a really young group. You know, not just those top 3 guys, but all the way around. So I'm really, really, really excited. It's a young room. I think it's a very talented room, and a room that has a very high ceiling.
We've seen Skylar Bell, Nick Johnson-Lewis getting ups and ones and twos. Just what have you seen for those guys, and what kind of skills do you think each one brings to the table?
Good. I mean, I'll start with Keontae. So, you know, he's a guy that can really stretch the field and put some pressure on guys down the field. He's a good route runner, right? He does a lot of good things just from a technique standpoint, and you know, he's consistently getting better and better and better. Skylar's a competitor, man. Skylar's a competitor. It's a challenge for him, right? Because he played mostly outside receiver last year. We got him in the slot right now. He's adjusting really, really well to that. I think he's getting more and more confident. I know there was some probably frustration early on because, you know, you get comfortable. You finally start to hit your stride playing one position, and all of a sudden, new staff, and then you go on, you're moving inside. But he's done a really, really good job over these first 11 practices, I guess, now. And, you know, he's been really, really sure-handed. And, you know, we've had some key situations in situational football where he's made some plays. So I think both of those guys have done a really, really good job and continue to grow.
I know you can't talk about recent news, but just with when the recruit comes in for a visit, what is your plan for, like, how you want to walk through what they could be at the program, or just what you want to on a visit? Just what's your plan?
Yeah, so to me, with recruiting, number one thing is just building relationships with them, right, and showing them who I am as an individual, and then, you know, talking to them about football, about, you know, some of the things that I believe in, and then we kind of progress to obviously the program, what we do throughout our program, you know, what the receivers can do and the difference that they can make and why their skill sets are unique and why they fit our offense. So you kind of build, again, it all starts with that relationship piece though first, right? You got to build a level of trust, a level of respect with them, and then kind of get into, all right, man, here's why I think this is a fit for both of us, and then kind of go from there.
With Will too, just what further steps do you want to see out of him for growth, you know, spring into fall camp and before the season within this air raid scheme?
You know, the biggest thing that I've challenged Will with is just continuing to focus on the details, the little things. But the bigger thing is just being a leader, right? A leader in the room, a leader in the program, and not being afraid to step into that role, right? It's always a little uncomfortable. You come into a new place, right? I'm the new guy in town and things like that. But you know, there's a certain way that everybody has that's unique about him and an ability to lead. I think he has a personality that he can grow into that. But the number one thing, the best way to lead, in my opinion, is by example. And so to continue to do the things he's been doing and growing in those areas and understanding that, you know, at Cincinnati it was a little different, right? He had guys that were in front of him that were kind of the head of the room. Well, you know, now it's a little more of an even playing field where you're fighting to be a guy, you're fighting to be that guy. Well, let's go, let's act like it, right? Everybody's looking at you now as opposed to you looking at somebody else. So I've challenged them with that pretty good, you know, as well as some other guys in the room. So.
Do you have a favorite play that a wide receiver's made in spring ball, or a handful that stand out?
Ooh, favorite play. There's been a few. I guess if I had to pick, you know, one single one, it was probably the catch by CJ over there in the end zone. He had one-handed with the guy coming down, barreling on him. Now, I shouldn't have spun the ball. He got me cursed out for that. But that's beside the point. But it was a good catch. It was a good play. It was good to see him hold on and, you know, not really flinch, catching that thing right there. We've had a couple of them over here on this sideline. I know Chris Brooks had a really good catch down this sideline. So there's been a handful of them. But.
Coach Hitchell was telling us about the ISO camp that Coach Hitchell brought from Cincinnati with you guys.
Yeah.
Has it been on your group yet, A, and then B, what's that experience like when you watch that film back, watching one guy in particular? Yeah,
it hasn't been on the receivers yet. I'm sure it's coming. I've warned them that it's probably coming. But it's a really good tell, man. Like, I love that he does that, right? Because there's a different level of accountability, right? When it's just focused on just you, you can truly tell, like, are you really straining? What is your effort really like throughout the play? You know, they're filming you between plays. Are you jogging back to the huddle? Are you jogging back to the line of scrimmage? Are you jogging off the field when your set is over? And Coach does a really, really good job. Like I said, it starts with him, right? He does a really good job of highlighting exactly the parts that we are looking for, as well as the parts that you know, are not really the standard of what we're looking for. And so, to me, more than anything else, that ISO cam kind of sets the culture of the program. It gives guys and lets guys truly see what the expectation is.
It seems seems like a really good problem to have. But could the offense really kind of utilize it that you guys seem to have at receiver where you guys seem to be able to go 6 or 7?
I guess time will tell, man. Again, like it's new to me as well. I like to think absolutely. We'll be able to use. We got 2 really good backs. We got some good tight ends. We're hoping to have 6 receivers that are in the rotation. There's a lot of guys and a lot of balls to be spread around, and a lot of it will be dictated off of what is the defense giving us too. So you like to think that we'll be able to integrate everybody. That's the hope. That's always the hope going in, and time will tell.
You mentioned it, but you have to learn too. How different is this scheme that Phil is implementing compared to what you've run before, and just how have you had to personally work through and adjust your coaching styles?
Yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, a lot of people in college football run very similar concepts and things like that. It's just some little details here and there that are different, which you have to learn. Different ways of, reading things, different ways of teaching things. So I've had to adapt some things. It's been good for me to be able to learn a new system, learn a different system. It's going to continue to help me grow, and then I'm excited just because of the success that the offense has had and continuing to learn and grow within it. So.